Welcome to episode 5 of the Beneath the Stats podcast. I'm your host, Robby McKittrick, and joining me today is San Diego rapper and hip hop artist Nicky. Nicky, thanks so much for being here.
Yes, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Nicky recently headlined the Music Box, which is a music venue in San Diego, and he absolutely killed it. I was there with some of my friends, and he put on a great show. His songs, All Stars and For the Love, are my two personal favorites. Everyone should check out his stuff on YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud. I'm actually going to ask him this a little bit later, but he also has a new song out called Faded and is going to be announcing a new tour, the little tour, which will have 6 dates. We'll get to that at the end. But I did want to talk about just your experience at the Music Box first,
Sure.
Nicky. I went with some of my friends. We had a great time. The first time I went through the doors, I just heard everyone saying, "I'm here to see Nicky." I have a question. My question for you is, what is your reaction when you hear people saying that?
Oh, it's a good question. It's awesome to hear. It's very validating, in a long time. I've been doing this a long time. I'm originally from the Bay Area, and I came up with the idea and the concept for Ill as like a lifestyle brand. And when Ill Nicky just started, taking form, I was performing at a lot of venues, doing a lot of music, just tireless work. It feels really good to go from a place where you're doing a lot of pay to plays and you're just kind of like flying under the radar, locally, because that's kind of like what it's so important for a lot of artists is to break in locally first. And so when I see a venue getting filled up with people that want to come see Ill Nicky, I mean, it's just so validating. It makes me feel like I'm on the right path.
I did want to ask you about your name. So your name is Nicky. It stands for I Love Life. You have the movement called the Ill Movement. Will you describe how you came up with the name in the meeting of the Ill Movement?
Yeah, for sure. It came pretty quickly. Like I used to go by just because my name is just Nick, and as an Italian, like Nicky is just. And so like everybody when I was growing up called me Nicky B. And so when I first started putting like little tracks out on YouTube, I just wrote my name Nicky B, and it actually ended up being like a really popular reggae artist at the time, like this guy that was like blowing up. And so anytime you would type in Nicky B, like you would get this other guy. So I'm like, oh man, I think I got to do a name change.
Huh.
So I kind of went into like what I wanted to stand for, and what I wanted to be remembered for, and how I could build that into like more of a brand. Like if it was a clothing brand, how would people remember it? And I remembered people calling me Mr. Ill because my father worked at an Italian restaurant called Il Fornaio, and I used to take people to eat there. And so Ill is like it's like sir in Italian. It's like so saying Il Nicky is like saying the Nicky, and so there's kind of like with my heritage, and then I added the other L when I was thinking about a cool clothing brand concept. So the other L was an acronym for I Love Life.
That's awesome. Yeah, it definitely sticks. I saw them on hats. It's a
I'm wearing
big
one right
hit,
now.
and it. Oh yeah, it's great. No, it's a great idea. I wanted to take it back to at the concert. So you're
Yeah.
on stage and just watching from the crowd. It was obviously you've done it for a while. You had the composure, the confidence that not everyone has up there. People were chanting your name during the concert after you finished. What was going through your head when you just hear people chanting your name while you're on stage and as you're leaving?
Man, I mean, people have been so supportive. I think the reason why they've been so supportive is because they can tell that it's real. They can tell that I'm so passionate about what I do. That I believe in it wholeheartedly. You know, and hearing that is crazy. It's awesome. It's motivating. It makes me feel like I'm doing the right thing. Like I'm exactly where I need to be.
Now, I did want to bring it back to the beginning of your career a little bit. I did hear that you're originally from the Boston area, but then you did move
Yeah.
to the Bay Area. So when did you move? When
Right.
did you move? And then when did you ultimately start rapping and writing songs? And kind of how long have you been at it?
Yeah, I'm originally from East Boston, and my dad moved us out when I was 10, and then but Boston is very deep rooted in me because my whole entire family still lives there. So the only people that live outside of Boston is just my immediate family, and so we moved to the Bay Area. We moved to Marin County, and and it was beautiful, but it was very close to the whole hyphy movement, and all of my friends were super into making their own art. Being around Berkeley and Oakland and all that in Haight Street, like this is where I hung out. You know what I mean? So all these places where there were always ciphers. This is where Team Backpack is from. I grew up in a very creative area, Fairfax, Throckmorton. So at the time, it was all about DIY, the do-it-yourself type of mentality with Mac Dre putting out Trill TV and, E40 starting his own record label, Sick With It Records. And so, it had this energy in the Bay that made young artists like me be like, yo, I could do this myself. I don't need no major label. Like, let's just do it. So my brother Aaron, who actually runs a business called Sons of Salvage today, he built a studio probably just from like literally just garage sales. He built a booth out of plywood. Got a mixer at a garage sale for like $25, and just built this thing out. It was dope. It's like still to this day, it was still the dopest studio I've ever seen. And so like this makeshift studio ended up kind of being like my brother's chill spot, and they would do they were pretty good at rapping, but they really didn't they weren't making very catchy songs. And I grew up on all kinds of like an array of music. And at the time, I was like dead in love with Akon and T-Pain and things, and things that they were doing with choruses. It was just always so catchy. So I went in there, and all the songs that didn't have choruses, I would add them, and without and I learned how to use the equipment myself, and then they ended up being like, yo, this is actually low key dope, like because I was like 12, 13 at the time, so. Then that kind of gave me the validation that like, yo, maybe I'm kind of naturally good at this. And then I just started owning my skills over the years. I would just kind of freestyle at parties and just, it was a fun thing for me. Writing was therapeutic. It was whatever. And then when I moved to San Diego, it was 2009, and my brother had a job lined up for me as a server at a restaurant. And when I got down, I went to this frat party. It was because we lived over by San Diego State, and I went to this frat party, and I met who I would name later DJ Decon, who's one of the biggest DJs in the city today.
Wow.
He was there, and my buddy, one of my best friends, Dan, he was there. He goes, "Hey, Connor, this is my friend Nicky, and he can rap." And Decon says at the time, he says, well, let's hear it. And I was wearing a Giants. I probably shouldn't air myself out like this, but I don't really give a shit. I was wearing a San Francisco Giants hat, and I just don't care, dude. I'm just not connected to like sports teams all that much. I just don't care. I mean, my dad would kill me if I did this to a Red Sox hat. But he literally said, because he's a Padres fan, right? Because he's from Encinitas.
Yeah.
And he goes, yo, I got a studio in my house. He goes, I'll let you come and use it if you take that hat and cut it in half. I said, where's the damn scissors? Let's get in the studio. So I cut the hat in half. He laughed, and we got in the studio. We just started banging out songs. And from there, like after hearing my voice actually like professionally sounding, it was like, dope, dude. I want to do this for the rest of my life. And then not too long after that, I met Mikey Caesar and Sean Powers. And they had this mindset that was just like so focused, laser focused. Like failure was not an option. It was like, yeah, of course we're gonna, of course we're gonna make it. Yeah, it's exactly this is what we're doing. And I just got in with that mindset and moved back to Oakland for a little while because shit got really like the industry it gets really hard, knocking on the door and And so at one point I moved back to Oakland. I got a job at Trader Vic's on the Berkeley Marina, and then my buddy James, I had an album out called Hungry at the time, and apparently a lot of people were starting to listen to it after I uploaded it online. And my boy James, who's been my friend for 20 years, he came into my room with like 75 CDs that he had printed himself, that he went to Kinko's, like got the art made, burned CDs, wrote Hungry on it, and he's like, yo, fuck all this bullshit. Let's go. We're moving back down to San Diego. We're making this happen. We hopped in his red Jeep and we haven't looked back since.
That's great. So what is it specifically that attracts you or that made you fall in love with the business itself? What is it, the writing, the rapping, the therapy of it, all of it? What is it specifically for you that fell in love with the with rapping?
I think it's seeing that final product, and being able to I like to create, right? I like to conceptualize, and I like to first of all, on a very basic level, I love writing. That's what I do. I since I was a kid, I love to write. I really enjoy it. It's therapeutic to me. So when it starts becoming like when I see the finished product of a nice video with I'm wearing my own clothing brand and I'm wearing something that I created. I'm singing something I wrote. It's a powerful feeling. It makes me feel like I'm accomplishing something, even if it doesn't get seen as much as you'd like it to or whatever. Just on a basic level, I love being an artist. I love having a name that I invented. Um, I love the I love life concept. I think that the positivity is necessary in today's landscape. And the business side of things, I'm hungry. I'm a hard worker. I come from an Italian working class family that that's what we do. We put our heads down and we work. And I love that aspect of it. I love how hard it is. I love the challenge of breaking into the industry, and I love coming up with new ideas on ways to promote things and marketing strategies. And I think I'm only just getting started, and I really feel that. I really feel like it's been kind of like I've been like if I've been in like law school for the last 8 years, and I feel like I just graduated. I feel like super ready and um, prepared, and so I enjoy it. I enjoy every day I wake up and get to make music.
You talked about that positive thinking and just how it's hard to make it in this business. You released a behind the scenes movie documentary in February that basically talked about your journey a little bit. The concert you had at the Music Box. Everyone should definitely check it out. It's really interesting. But one thing you talked about was just receiving no after no and just how you can get sick of failure. For yourself, how did you keep going? And did you ever think about quitting at certain moments?
Yes. Quitting, no, but um, I don't, it's a really good question because I think I may be built a little different. I think let me think how to answer this because there's um, there's ways to have a mindset for it. A lot of people ask me the question of what does it take to break into the industry or whatever, and really the thing is you gotta really love it. You gotta want to die for it. You can't give yourself a deadline. I joke with my friends a lot about like this thing called the American Idol complex. I think I made that up. I don't know if it's an actual thing, but I feel like in this age of the American like game shows, it really instilled this mindset into kids, into young people, and grown people that got one opportunity. I only got that one shot, and if I blow that shot, well, I'm just gonna hang it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's spot on.
Uh, and so I don't think that way. I think that you fall, you get right back up, and you figure something else out. You did something wrong, you figure out a way to fix it. Um, at the end of the day, it's a very simple concept, and we're in this to sell. If you really want to make money with it, to sell fans. So you make some dope shit, you get fans. People come to you and want to pay you for your service for your fans. It's really very simple. So that's all you got to do is just create a way that people are gonna like you and follow your shit. And I mean, if it's real, that's gonna radiate. A lot of people with that fake stuff be like, "Oh, why aren't I able to break in?" Because you're not really feeling it in your heart. And so I think you would. Maybe I went on a bit of a tangent. What was the question originally?
No, you answered it. It was just basically how did you just if you thought about quitting and just basically your overall journey. Yep.
Oh, right. Yeah, I can't tell you how many times have been just so challenging. There was one year, 2 years ago when I was working on my album Beware the Eight. Actually, today is the 2 years ago was the day that I dropped the first song off of it called Young. Um, that was it was a ridiculous year. My one of my best friends passed away,
I'm sorry to
and then
hear.
And then, oh, thanks, man. And then right after that, when I came home for his funeral, my mom sat me down and told me she was diagnosed with cancer.
Oh, geez.
And then, when I went back to San Diego, like this was all in the course of like 2, 3 weeks. When I went back to San Diego, one of my closest music friends, Felicia, passed away. And so, and then in that whole like year was also the year that I had signed a really bad contract with a sub label at Interscope, and I lost all the money I had ever made it working 3 jobs at one time, and just all the money I actually won a scholarship. I didn't go to college, but I actually won a scholarship for inspiration in high school. So it was like I lost like more over 15 G's in a really bad
Wow.
deal, and it was definitely a lesson, a great lesson in my life as a young entrepreneur in this. And there was a lot of jabs that were just coming my way. It's not easy. I had one time I was working. I did a show at Observatory, and I got an encore. It was before Andre Nicotina. I was like, oh man, this is real. Like, you know what I mean? I had to go to work the very next day,
Yeah.
back to the restaurant, right? And I'm there at the bar,
Right.
very very busy day at brunch, and this kid walks in with a tank top, starts barking orders at me, and I look at his arm, and he has a tattoo of my stuff, of
Wow.
Nicky, and he had no idea it was me. He had no idea that it was me, serving him, and he was being rude to me, So it was like that stuff is hard to take because you're like, well, is this thing ever gonna pay me back, or do I have to just bust my ass for the rest of my life in this damn restaurant? Do I have to drive this Uber for the rest of my life? Like, get me out of here, you know. So it's just it was years of that, and a lot of introspective, like, yo, what do I really want in this? Like, yes, I love it, but it's that time that I want to make this a living, I want it to give back. I want to provide. I want to get my dad out of the restaurant. He's been busting his ass in the restaurant. I want my mom to not have a job. I want to provide for my family and my people that have believed in me for so long. And so that's just kind of where it's at. I'm very driven. I'm very focused. I don't ever think about quitting, but I definitely have those days where I feel like I'm drowning. But I always pick it right back up.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be resilient. Obviously, in this business, I think in a lot of things you try to do in life in terms of a career. I mean, you've kind of answered it, but kind of one follow up question I had
Yeah.
was that for someone who's trying to achieve something that seems unattainable, whether it's in the music industry or in the sports industry or whatever industry you're in, and you are constantly fail and you're constantly told no, kind of what advice do you have to tell those people to keep at it, or kind of what have you learned throughout your journey so far,
Yeah.
and just keeping things in perspective and how to keep going?
I'm really glad you worded it like that. I really do believe that it's so important to be okay with a down day. When I say down day, I mean like a day that you're just doing nothing. You feel shitty. Feel shitty. It's all right. Because a lot of times people try to and I'm not minimizing someone with a mental disorder. Because that obviously exists. People with depression and things like that. I suffer from anxiety my whole life. However, I've been able to manage it. And the thing is that when on those days where I'm feeling like, man, the whole world's crashing down on me, I'm not making it, this thing ain't working, I don't mind throwing the towel in for that day, watching Netflix and eating and just relaxing my head, and then picking back up the next day. A lot of people, they don't allow themselves to have those days, and then they just blame it on, they take it way too hard. They're like, oh man, I'm not meant for this shit, because they don't allow themselves to have that moment, that time to recollect themselves.
Yeah,
So I think
absolutely.
it's very important to realize that life hits you, and you're gonna feel the effects of life, and don't feel ashamed to hang your head every once in a while. It's fine. You just have to make sure that you're not falling into the trap of pity, self pity, and you're not being lazy. You gotta, the very next day, you gotta fight through it and pick back up. So it's just that balance.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. One song you talked about in the documentary that you wrote is "Ringer," and you said that it was really the first song you wrote angry, whereas the other songs you wrote, you were in a more positive state. I was curious, what was the song about, and what was the experience like writing it and performing it for you?
Yeah. Maybe it wasn't the first angry song. It was the
Hmm.
first angry song I think that I made publicly. um, but and when I say angry, I mean, yeah, I had a lot of aggression on it because it was during that time when I had so much aggression in me. I had to get it out, and it felt good. It opened up another door to my artistry. It sat really well with people. They really loved that style. I went from making this when you're in this stuff, like there's a lot of the one of the biggest bullshit things is when like years later an artist changes and fans or someone will be like, oh man, he changed up. Oh dude, no, he's like nothing like he used to be. Like, well, why would he be? Like the game changes you. I mean, I'm not saying you have to become fake, but if I started here and it sounds completely different from what I'm doing 8 years later, I mean, I would hope so. you know you go through a lot of stuff that
Absolutely.
changes you, that makes you maybe a little bit more angry, maybe a little more happy, maybe like you were in certain you know places in your life, and that's the type of music, and an artist can make whatever they want. And so when I was making the House with No Pressure, I thought that people needed that positivity. The House with No Pressure, sorry, was the album that I did right before that angry song, and the album was mostly very happy songs, upbeat, kind of like kind of a little cheese ball. I hate the album. And a lot of people really like it. I mean, I not to. I'm sorry with the people that have tattoos of the album art. It's dope album art. Shout out Andrew DePaulo, but but like I don't like it because it was just a very young me. It was very young. I thought I was just trying to make something that people I thought that could sell, and I ended up making stuff that wasn't really me. I'm not really that happy go lucky. I'm hungry. I'm tenacious. I'm feisty. So I needed to make the stuff that was really in me. And so when I made Ringer, that was the first time I felt like I could listen to it back and be like, yeah, this is exactly what I want to make.
Yeah, and I think,
Yeah,
as people grow, their thoughts are going to change and their style is going to change, and it wouldn't make sense if you have one constant, way you
yeah,
do things. So I think it makes sense as you grow, the music can change and what you do has a different
yeah,
tone.
of course.
I have a couple questions left for you, and then I did want to get to what you're up to right now and what's upcoming.
Mhm.
So, and just in terms of the industry, one thing I was always very curious about, there's so many good artists out there, a lot that sound similar. It always confuses me why some people make it, they quote make it, and then others do not, even if they may sound the same or have the same talent. From your experience in the business, what do you think separates the ones that make it and the ones that don't? And is it that big, or is it just marketing, or what do you think it is specifically?
One or two things. Either it's real, it's authentic and genuine, or it's part of a plan, a master divine plan. I haven't decided which one. um, because there's times when it's like, yeah, this does seem like it's just God's plan. Like I was talking with my homie Mikey the other day about the iconic. Like how do you just become a Michael Jordan, a Michael Jackson? You know, how do you like iconic? Someone who's etched into history.
Right.
That's got to be something that's more divine. You got to be born with that. I think you can create something legendary, and you can create a legacy. I think sometimes what separates it also is originality. A lot of times, this guy Takashi. Think what you want about him, and I know he's a weirdo. I think I don't know if I don't know what he is, if it's all just fake or made up. But with his rainbow, do you know who that is?
I do not.
Oh, okay, well, he's really big on social media. He's the guy with the rainbow hair, and and this guy just he's always around. He's just always he's like the guy at the bar that just he waits to be the last guy, and then the girl just chooses him. It's like he's always friggin' right there in front of you when you're scrolling on Instagram or Twitter. He's always there. He's always whether he's talking trash or he's releasing another video. He's memorable. He's got rainbow hair. He's got a rainbow grill. He's a little Mexican kid from the Bronx, and he makes crazy, crazy music. And it's like, say what you want about it, but it's memorable. And I think also, what's huge, man, is that actually the most underrated thing is likability. Like Lil B, you know who Lil B, Bass God is?
Yeah.
Okay. The guy's got a whole hashtag thing, like Base God. He's on Sports Center all the time. Like they talk about him on Sports Center. This guy has literally broken into another realm from being the guy from the pack from East Oakland that sings "Got My Vans On," but they look like sneakers. Like he could have just been like a local artist and never went anywhere, but he's so friggin' likable, you know. And then what happens is, you know, when Twitter starts blowing up saying, "Oh, this person's a national treasure, protect them at all costs," like to become that type of likable person where everybody can agree on how cool this person is, and like you might not even like the music. I'm sure there's people that shout out that have tattooed Bass God on their body and can't even name one lyric from one of his songs. They just like him.
Right.
So my point is that that's a really another thing that when you're creating connections, you know, when they say it's all about who you know. I can't explain to you how many doors I've opened just by being myself and creating a genuine relationship.
I mean, just talking with you, you seem like, you know, what you see is what you get. You're very real, and I love the work ethic. So, you know, I'm wishing you all the best, and you have a ton of talent. I saw you
Yeah.
live concert, and I've heard other people, and there's no difference, you know, separating you from the other really well known rappers. So,
Thanks.
you know, yeah, I love what you've been grinding. You know, one last question for you before you talk about what's upcoming. You know, it does seem like things are coming together for you. You just headlined the Music Box. Are you happy? Or are you content where you're at with your career thus far? And kind of where do you want to get to, and where do you think you can get to
Yeah,
in the future?
I am happy. I'm happy but not content. Very hungry. I'm the type of guy that I'm not driven by anything but legacy. Um, yes, I want to get paid. Yes, I want to create memories and have a wonderful life and provide for my family and friends. But my motivation, my real motivation, comes from creating a legacy that what will Nick be remembered for? And so I think with that drive is there's nothing really that you can give me to make me stop. Um, I'll be the guy that's in the studio with $20 million in my pocket. I'll still be in the studio every night. I love it. I want to be better, but I want to be the best ever. And I know that you know may not happen. And I know that I might. I'm going to go as far as God will take me. But I want to be. I don't want to be just regular. I want to be the best ever. And so I'm ready to work for that. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think that I'm exactly where I need to be in this time. I think that if I had like made it, quote unquote, made it years ago, even last year, I think I haven't really become self-aware fully until probably this year. To be honest with you, I feel like it's the first time in my life that I'm actually prepared to go on the big radio stations and freestyle live in front of people and you know, rap my songs in front of people. Like, you know what I mean? I think that I'm more prepared than I've ever been, and I think that if I would have made it years ago, I wouldn't have been ready, and I might have fell off or created the wrong impression, and would have had a harder time. So I think I'm super blessed to have kind of had this thing start to pop off right now.
What do you mean by self-aware? Do you mind expanding on that a little bit?
Yeah, I think when some people are self-aware at 14 years old. There's kids that come from the projects or they go through certain things that I think when you go, I personally believe it's like there's like a level that grows on it, and every time you go through something drastic, that shit grows and you become more self aware. And there's some people that have been through hell and back by the time they're 15, and they're very self aware. They know who they are. They know what they want in life. They know how to pick something and go for it. Other people, they drift. They drift for a while. They can't really find themselves. They don't know who they are. They don't know how to answer questions because they don't really answer shit with conviction because they don't actually know or believe it. People that don't have certain political views or certain religious views, or like you're just kind of finding themselves, and that's okay. But once you find the basis of and I'm not saying be closed minded, be very open minded, remain that. But there's certain things that I'm tied to, like my heritage, my beliefs, what I stand for, the way it's just like my values, my morals. That's the fiber of me. That's what I believe in. I believe in the ill movement, in my vision so strongly that there's nothing you can say about it. I'm going to answer the questions the way you know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah.
So self-aware is just being aware of who I am, what I want out of life, what I like in other people, the people I surround myself with, doing things that benefit me and my people, my family, my friends. Um, but also, I don't mean to make that sound like selfish. I hope that didn't come off as like selfish. I just mean like
No, not at all.
not. Sometimes when you're growing up, you let people in that take you down, and whether they're mean to you or you're not really the type of style of person you are, that's just all being you're growing, you're finding yourself, you're learning. So
Yeah, I was just saying, I think, surrounding yourself with the right people, especially in, when you're trying to make it in an industry like what you're doing is extremely important. So I absolutely understand what you're saying. Anything else you'd like to add about that before we talk about what you have upcoming?
no, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. So what do you tell us? Tell the people what you got coming up with the new
Yeah,
song, the tour, and all
for
that.
sure. So I am super excited right now because first off, so I was releasing a lot of music. Actually, I released since December 1st of last year. I have been releasing a song a week every until up to last week. So I've been really putting out a lot of content, more videos, landing sponsorships, working with Original Grain, doing shows. We did that headliner at Music Box. It was really big for us, and we started getting more and more opportunities coming our way. I went to I write for Legend Records in in Fort Worth, Texas.
Uh huh.
It's the guy who owns the label is the owner of the Dallas Stars. His name is Mark Caffey, and he his artist is Aquil. Do you know Aquil? He sings on.
Yeah, yeah. Cool's great.
Yeah.
For people who don't know, he was on The Voice, right?
Yes. Yeah, he was on The Voice. Incredible, incredible talent. One of actually the best singer I've ever heard in real life. He's
Yeah, I can attest to that. When
yeah,
he was at, for those that don't know, he was at the concert with
right.
you. He sings both, For the Love and All Stars, which are just two great songs. He's fantastic.
Exactly is. And we had an organic relationship just through being local guys that were grinding on the same thing. And through our mutual friend Nat Z, shout out to Nat Z, very very awesome local rapper, female rapper. She introduced us at a show, and we were like two peas in a pod. He was all about the music, and I said, I got a couple songs I think he would sound great on. He came in, knocked it out. It was incredible how fast he worked. And after I did All Stars, I wrote a song All Stars and I actually sang the hook at first. And then we were sitting around like this song needs more. Like it just needs a feature, bro. It could just be a bigger song. So called Aquil. He came in and he absolutely loved the song, and it kind of grew into like, he was like, yo, I would love if you would help me write something like that. And so I started just kind of penning different songs and going through things. And they flew me out to Fort Worth to their studio. Sat in there for a week, wrote over 35 songs, and just banging them out, banging them out. One of the songs that I wrote, because we work with Warren Curtis, he's a local producer he's signed to Sony BMG, he's a French guy, amazing, amazing talent. He produces for French Montana, Rick Ross, everybody. And he'd sent me two beats because he really loves me and Aquil stuff. He sent me two beats, and one of them was just like, oh my God, this is a hit. Like, a really good record. And I freestyled it. Like, it came that easy to me. I freestyled the melody, pretty much the concept of the song, and then I went in there and wrote the rest of it, put Aquil on the hook, and we were done with it. And literally 24 hours later, we were in this club in Fort Worth, and the song started playing.
Wow.
And so like they had already mixed it a little bit and sent it out to some of their DJ friends, and it was really cool to hear how quick they were working down there. And I'm like, what, dude, like that? You already got this song in the club? Like, wow. So we came back and we were like, all right, listen, we've got our alto type stuff. Like I know what Nicky makes, but this is a song that could potentially launch us into that mainstream. And so I brought it to a bunch of radio heads around here. Shout out to Pandar at Z90. He's been so kind to me over the years. I played it for him, and he just went batshit. He was like, "This is a hit. Like, this is top 40. We can." So right now, I'm trying to break this independently. I'm trying to break it with Z90 is one of the biggest radio stations. It's the 17th biggest radio market in the country. And a lot of people don't understand how big San Diego is as a market. So that's pretty awesome. So we have the potential to break this independently without a major label, and I'd be so proud to do that. So that's kind of what we're working on. Breaking Faded. We're going to go be performing it in South by Southwest next week. And that's kind of the start of the tour. I call it the Little Tour. And it's literally 6 dates. And the one I'm most excited about is the one in Berkeley. It's right next to where I used to work, and it's my first headline in the Bay Area. So going back home and having so many people that can't wait to go to that grew up with me, went to high school with me. I'm really looking forward to that show. So that's coming up. That's March 29th in Berkeley, at Cornerstone in Berkeley. And then I've got Majestic Theater in Petaluma too, and then the Catalyst in Santa Cruz. So we're gonna be moving. We're doing we're bringing the band. Jay Chu. Jay Chu. You saw him on the violin. DJ Taylor Michael, the DJ. These guys, Aquil, of course. Um, these guys are just also full of talent, and it's such a blessing to be part of. You're just collaborating with that. So, and then hopefully Mikey's in the other room right now. Mikey Caesar. He's we're going to be probably working on some things too. As far as I know, that we haven't made a song together in like years, but people will really be waiting for that.
Well, looks like you're doing a lot of exciting things. And Nicky, thanks so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you, man. Thanks, Robby, for having me. That was awesome. I appreciate it.
Make sure to follow Ill Nicky on Twitter, at the Ill Nicky, on Instagram at the Ill Nicky, and check out his music on Spotify, SoundCloud, or YouTube. You can see more information about Ill Nicky at illnicky.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, feel free to check out my first 4 episodes on my blog, robbymckitrick.blogspot.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Robby McKittrick for the latest podcast information. Thanks so much for listening.